be careful when you're out there. Watch out for the wind. Hold on, be careful.
A tragic accident recently claimed the life of a fisherman on Deadliest Catch, reminding us of the constant dangers these crews face. The treacherous conditions of the Bering Sea can turn deadly in an instant, leading to unimaginable losses.
Oh my God. Is there anything wrong?
Even the most experienced fishermen are not safe from the perils of their profession. But what makes these risks so frequent and unavoidable? Let us dive into the hidden corridors of this extremely dangerous industry and reveal its darkest answers. The catch of a lifetime. In the middle of a relentless rain, the team keeps on fishing, motivated by an upcoming family gathering. Captain Jake, filled with optimism, explains that they have ventured further northwest than ever before in hopes of netting a massive catch of 200 to 300. As they pull up their nets, they are astounded by the abundance they've secured. Jake can hardly believe his eyes, claiming it's the most he's ever seen in his long fishing career. The nets, set just 8 hours prior, reveal a surprisingly hefty bounty. The sight of such a massive haul quickly makes the crew forget about the chilly weather. If the crabs are the right size, they're looking at a significant payday.
Oh, oh my God!
Never seen that in my life!
That's 8 hours!
But even if they're smaller, it's still a win with 435 crabs in the pot, far surpassing Jake's hopeful estimate. The air around the Saga is filled with shouts of joy, a testament to their record-breaking success, possibly setting new highs for their fishing books. With the break of dawn, the crew enjoys a brief moment of rest after a night of hard work. However, their break is cut short by new challenges. A crew member notices the rough waves slamming against the Saga and quickly alerts Captain Jake, who commands everyone to take cover inside. He confesses he didn't warn them about the anchor's tendency to slip during turbulent weather, posing a risk of tipping the boat. Every action is critical now, as the Saga faces potential disaster. Captain Jake urgently directs his team to stay alert, emphasizing the need to keep the anchor line tight to avoid losing the winch to the violent sea. He admits their daring attempt to secure the anchor is being watched by other ships, likely doubting their decision to proceed in such terrible conditions. Reflecting on previous experiences of losing anchors, Jake's main concern is ensuring his crew's safety, insisting on accountability for any mishaps. In a crucial moment, Jake realizes the importance of maintaining tension in the anchor line as they attempt to retrieve it, and he seeks assistance from a crew member to determine its direction.
I can't stop you, idiot! Hang on, head! Power up! You moron! Watch out!
The success of navigating through the storm and safely retrieving the anchor depends heavily on Jake's ability to manage the situation without causing panic. Despite their spectacular catch earlier, the crew must now face criticism for their carelessness. Jake urgently warns a crew member to keep clear of the winch, fearing it might break loose and cause serious injuries. Amidst the chaos, Jake questions why the winch isn't functioning as expected. Aware of the dangers if the anchor line snaps, he continues to stress the importance of keeping the area around the winch clear. Luckily, they manage to avert a crisis, securing the anchor safely. With the storm still raging, their next move is to head to port, though Jake seems less concerned about this immediate step. When two ships collide, panic spreads quickly on deck. Facing such clear yet unavoidable dangers is incredibly frustrating. The captain of the Wizard, fully aware that his yelling is futile, quickly shifts to damage control mode. Trapped at sea, direct confrontation with the other captain isn't an option. Instead, he focuses on navigating his ship safely to port, emphasizing the importance of prioritizing safety over confrontations. The encounter leaves the captain furious, warning of harsh consequences for any further mistakes by his crew. He urgently commands his crew to check the front of the ship, power up the engines, and make a swift turn to port, pushing the boat to its full capacity. After executing these commands, the captain feels a significant tremor through the ship, uncertain of the extent of damage but remaining hopeful. Post-collision, the captain of the Wizard confronts the other captain via intercom, visibly upset. He accuses the other of careless steering, questioning their decision-making and inquiring about a possible engine failure. The other captain defensively explains an unsuccessful attempt to reverse due to malfunctioning controls, adding to the confusion. Acknowledging the explanation, the Wizard's captain advises the other to inspect his vessel for damages and wishes him well, also ensuring his own ship is checked for any harm. No apologies are exchanged, setting the stage for further discussions once they reach port. Exhausted from the constant commotion, the captain of the Wizard expresses his fatigue, echoed by a deckhand who steps in to possibly explain safety protocols or calm the situation, introducing the concept of a collision bulkhead, a critical safety feature designed to contain any breach during collisions, potentially preventing the ship from sinking. As the crew takes a quick break after a tough night, new problems come up that keep them on edge, even though the storm seems to be over. Dodging a close call. Captain Jake could have easily returned to shouting over the radio if the ship had suffered more damage, but luckily the initial damage assessment wasn't as terrible as expected. Relieved, he detailed the recent scare to the crew. It turned out their anchor had caught on something hidden underwater, which dramatically threw their ship off its intended path and caused it to just graze another vessel. Reflecting on what could have been a catastrophic collision, Captain Jake stressed how close they had come to disaster. A direct hit with the pointed front part of their ship, known as the stem, might have cut right through the other vessel. Although the other ship did end up with quite a bit of damage, it wasn't anyone from the Wizard, and that was a small consolation. The atmosphere aboard the Saga felt colder than even the icy Bering Sea, a coldness that seemed to deepen with the night's unsettling events. Jake knew that dealing with bad weather at night is perhaps the most dreaded scenario for any sea captain. Now he faced a difficult choice: to press on in hopes of a big catch or to prioritize the safety of his crew. Amidst these challenges, he frequently yelled out to Jacob, a young deckhand, urging him to stay alert.
I mean, look at the waves. They're already just starting to blast now.
Jacob, visibly shaken yet unharmed, agreed that the sea's rough behavior was a clear reminder of why caution is always necessary. Out of nowhere, a giant wave crashed onto the deck, splashing freezing water over everyone and sending shivers down their spines. In the aftermath, Captain Jake apologized for the surprise wave, admitting it had caught him off guard. Jacob shared more about the terrifying moment, explaining how water had rushed up through the gaps in the deck boards and how the coiler, a machine used for winding ropes, had suddenly moved toward him. Acting on instinct, he ducked just in time while he was busy coiling his hook line. Jacob felt it was nothing short of a miracle that he wasn't hit by the coiler, which took the full force of the wave. He was fortunate to avoid being swept overboard, a story he would probably repeat for many years. Captain Jake couldn't hide his frustration about the unexpected wave, emphasizing the importance of being on constant alert. With the weather getting worse, he doubted their ability to safely continue fishing. He pointed out the dangers posed by such large and fast-moving waves, comparing their sudden and powerful impact to a martial arts strike, jokingly naming it after Bruce Lee. Convinced that his crew wouldn't be able to withstand another such powerful blow from the sea, he decided to call off the night's fishing operations. Over on the Summer Bay, Captain Wild Bill seemed to be managing a team with almost supernatural endurance as they prepared to continue fishing despite the worsening conditions. Bill announced that they would be fishing in deeper waters than usual due to the strong currents. He instructed his crew to set their fishing pots an additional 3 fathoms deeper than normal. Observing the rapidly deteriorating weather, Bill remained hopeful, especially after spotting a promising empty area in the ocean. No one was keen to work at the rail under such challenging conditions, but deckhand Spencer Davis was assigned the tough job. Bill reminded Spencer of the importance of safety as he started pulling up the first pot. Spencer struggled to secure the buoy because of the strong currents, but remained determined to retrieve the pot, convinced they would find plenty of crabs. His resolve reflected his captain's bravery, with both men convinced that their combined strength and positive outlook would help them avert any disaster. When the crew finally pulled up the pot, they were thrilled to discover it contained 223 crabs, a substantial haul that justified their efforts. Cheers and shouts of victory filled the air, with one crew member exclaiming, "Yeah, baby, that's what we want right here," celebrating their successful catch. For a moment, it seemed as though Wild Bill and his crew had the entire ocean to themselves, with other boats having retreated for the night. However, their celebration was abruptly cut short by a sudden problem. Another crew member, struggling against the strong current, accidentally went overboard. Just when the crew starts to enjoy their success, something dangerous happens that puts everything they've worked for at risk. A sudden turn of events. The incident quickly turned the mood from celebratory to grave. Captain Bill, who had just been laughing moments before, now faced a severe and frightening situation. He immediately directed his crew to rescue the man from the dangerous waters. Given the rough sea conditions and poor visibility, the deckhands' chances of survival seemed grim. After some tense moments, they managed to pull Spencer back aboard, much to everyone's immense relief. Captain Wild Bill later admitted that the minute and a half when Spencer was in the water felt like the longest of his life, as he couldn't bear the thought of losing a crew member. Reflecting on the night's events, the captains on both ships faced significant challenges that tested their leadership and decision-making. Captain Jake, having opted to halt operations to ensure the safety of his crew, demonstrated prudence in the face of unpredictable natural forces. Meanwhile, Captain Wild Bill's quick response to the man overboard situation highlighted the critical importance of swift and decisive action during emergencies at sea. Both incidents served as stark reminders of the ever-present dangers of deep-sea fishing, where both human lives and massive catches hang in a delicate balance, swayed by the unpredictable whims of the ocean. On their way back to the dock, a deckhand named Nick got hurt pretty bad. He was so pumped to get back to work that he tripped over something and ended up getting seriously injured, putting the whole season for the Summer Bay at risk. Now, it looks like Nick might not be able to join this season's fishing because of some really bad timing. This is a big deal since Captain Wild Bill already has too many newbies and really needs his experienced crew more than ever. In the middle of all this, one of the crew got on the ship's radio to check in with Captain Wild Bill, asking about his whereabouts and what was going on. They got word back that they were still busy pulling in crab pots. Then they had to break the tough news to the captain.
Hey, Bill, something's wrong with me.
What happened?
The back of my ankle.
Which foot?
My left.
They reported that Nick had badly hurt his ankle and was worried about being able to keep up with the rest of the season because of the rough conditions. Right now, Nick's least concern was letting his team down with his ankle injury, though it was causing him a lot of pain. Nick, suffering from the injury, mentioned how the pain was now shooting up to his knee. Another crew member, trying to figure out what to do next, was unsure about the immediate steps. They thought about possibly cutting off Nick's boot to apply ice to the ankle properly and planned to watch how it developed overnight. They also considered getting Nick to a doctor, but it wasn't clear if this would happen right away. They already had to lift him since he couldn't walk, and with only basic first aid available on the Summer Bay, the pain was likely to get worse by tomorrow. Would he really manage to perform his duties with his ankle swollen up like that, which would only slow down the operations on the boat? Nick let out a groan, mentioning a loud pop in his ankle. He asked for a bit of time to rest and maybe sit down for a while, apologizing to his crewmates for the hassle. Another crew member stepped up to reassure him, saying they would bandage the ankle and make sure he gets checked in the morning, maybe even get an x-ray. Captain Bill was really worried about Nick. He called Nick the heart and soul of their team out there, emphasizing how crucial he was to the crew. The unfortunate incident was upsetting, but at least now Nick knew how important he was to the captain. Maybe he could even use that knowledge to negotiate a raise after his ankle healed. After the close call, the pressure only grows as Captain Harley faces choices that could make or break their next move. Navigating through tight spaces. Captain Harley from the Southern Wind noted the strong winds but remarked they seemed less intense during the day compared to the night. He stressed the importance of getting their crab pots back on the boat as soon as possible. For this, he explained he needed to maneuver the ship carefully to avoid a collision with the Summer Bay. Captain Harley mentioned another boat, also named Summer Bay, had agreed to move aside by noon. However, he was really anxious to get his ship in the right position so the crane could start lifting the pots immediately. Captain Harley needed to get past his nearby rival before the southern winds picked up. But first, he had to handle another problem at Port Sours for the rest of the day. Returning to Captain Harley's challenges, he was visibly frustrated as he shouted orders to his crew to move the ship and get a certain item placed correctly on the side of the dock. He urged them to hurry up, insisting that it was time to move the boat. Harley made this call without even having Bill on his boat. Why was he so eager to start fishing when other captains seemed okay with waiting out the bad weather? Did he have the coordinates for a catch that could be a game changer? Nick, now the deck boss on the Summer Bay, admitted he was not used to dealing with such situations. He compared it to random, unexpected events, like a fridge door suddenly coming off. He suggested that such surprises are just part of life on the sea. At that moment, the skipper of the Summer Bay returned to his post. It looked like Harley was also planning to move towards Summer Bay, although neither of them realized they might be heading towards each other. Captain Harley of the Southern Wind gave several orders and voiced his concerns about the movements of another ship.
You got me? Damn it.
We'll get this thing on the right side of the dock. Come on, guys, let's go. Time to move the boat.
First, he instructed his crew to steer their boat quickly. Meanwhile, Wild Bill was questioning Harley's actions and felt worried they might end up crashing. Wild Bill then considered the need for a crash bag, a big inflatable safety device, and asked if one was available. Given his concerns about the other captain's skills, Wild Bill asked another crew member to take over a particular station on his ship. He explained his decision by noting he had seen the other captain maneuver their vessel before and wasn't impressed. Captain Harley called over to his deckhand to ask how close they were to another ship. At first, the deckhand estimated about 200 feet, but quickly corrected himself, noting that was actually the length of the other vessel, and they were still trailing it. He then updated the closing distances rapidly, first 50 feet, then down to 30 feet, and soon just 25 feet apart. As the number shrank, Captain Harley's voice picked up urgency. He switched from merely asking for updates to issuing sharp warnings and voicing his concern loudly. The tension peaked with Harley letting out a worried sigh. It became clear that Wild Bill's earlier concern about needing crash bags was justified. Harley's attempt at steering clear was anything but smooth. In truth, Harley is used to having plenty of open water around him, navigating with no other boats nearby to worry about. When things go sideways, he has a habit of pointing fingers at the wind, using it as his scapegoat because, well, the wind can't talk back. Bill, on the other hand, wasn't convinced the close call was unavoidable.
Not where he told me to go, but it's where he has his gear. So I figured, what the hell, let's look.
Even though Harley's own team knew he messed up, they couldn't really admit it openly. Harley's approach at sea often involves a lot of space and freedom, so tight spots aren't really his forte. This incident just highlights his difficulty in tight navigation, a contrast to his usual seafaring strategies where the nearest ship might be miles away. His quick blaming of the wind for the mishap is typical of Harley, shifting responsibility away from his decisions. Meanwhile, Bill sees the situation differently, recognizing that better choices could have prevented the near miss. Even though the crew behind Harley knows the truth, speaking up against the captain isn't something they can easily do without repercussions. They remain silent, bearing the weight of the knowledge that their captain's decision was the root of the problem. Was this tragic accident simply an unfortunate event? Or are the dangers faced by the Deadliest Catch crews a result of deeper, overlooked issues in the fishing industry? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.